Let me just note, and this is a side issue, but just again, Mr. Cochran, or Dr. Cochran, global warming is not the basis for making decisions like this. Even in your testimony, it's gone from climate change to global warming, and the fact that it's getting colder for these last 7 years has now taken the global warming people, so now they're saying it's global climate change, and that is such a mishmash. I think that reasonable people have got to, frankly, look at other issues rather than climate change for such incredible decisions as we're making today. However, with that said, I think you made some very good points about nuclear energy that need to be addressed, other than whether it's going to change the climate of the planet or not. I made sure my staff asked the panel beforehand and gave them some indication that I would be asking them about the high-temperature gas-cooled reactor. Have any of you been to Japan and seen the high-temperature gas-cooled reactor that they have in operation there? I went to Japan a month ago and went to that reactor. This reactor, from what I understand, after questioning the scientists there, as well as questioning various scientists, is lower in construction costs, lower in operation costs, has no risk of meltdown, has no risk of radioactive discharge, has no proliferation danger, and a major reduction in leftover nuclear waste. Now, what I want to know first of all, that's what I understand. I'm not a scientist. There's protons, neutrons, electrons, and morons in this universe. And I would have to say that I'm closer to the latter than the former. Maybe, am I wrong in seeing that there's a great potential in the high-temperature gas-cooled reactor that's just being ignored? Go right ahead.
I can offer a perspective on that. The high-temperature gas-cooled reactor design, sometimes referred to as Generation 4, they offer a promising option in the future, primarily because of the potential to divert that high process heat, whether it be for enhanced oil recovery in tar sands or even hydrogen production. However, I would differ from your perspective when you say about the cost. There's a number of issues right now as far as implementing them in the U.S. where they are significantly behind what's referred to as a Generation 3+, looking at what we want to implement next. Primarily, it's the licensing piece of it. They're not yet design certified by the NRC, where the others...
So in other words, it's the bureaucratic cost and not the technology
Not yet.
cost.
I would also add the size of them.
Yes.
And there's in order for them to be commercially deployed, there's the licensing aspect of it, and along with that, some safety implications. The NRC has indicated the need for more advanced fuel performance and characterization, as well as the selection of materials, again, because they operate at such a high temperature, which is to their benefit, but also a challenge. So with the cost, I would say any estimates of implementing them in the U.S. right now would be aspirational at best, and that is because of the lack of maturity of them at this time. Intuitively, I would think that they will be more costly than the light water reactors, only because of their per kilowatt output or their size, and they don't have the economies of scale.
Well, actually, you can, if you have smaller reactors, you can actually place them in different places, maybe closer to the consumers, perhaps.
We've looked at that, I know, with the pebble bed modular reactor, and in the U.S. grid system, it still suggests that from an economy perspective, you would actually want to bundle at least 4 or 6 of those together. However, in development...
Which you could do.
You could do, but then again, so that deployment or that distributed generation, which that is, doesn't necessarily win so much over here. But again, there is a strong future and outlook for those.
Hey, why is it, I guess what you're telling me, of all of what we've got now, this water-based reactors that we have now, this is 50, 60-year-old technology. These are things somebody designed 60 years ago that now there have been incremental improvements on, but it's the fundamental concept of frankly, people who were raised and educated before World War II. And what I don't understand is that why there doesn't seem to be, I mean, listen, I went over and talked to those engineers. The Japanese engineers were not just Japanese engineers that had made their life on the high-temperature gas-cooled reactor. These were engineers that had a long history of their involvement in the nuclear energy field. All of them suggested that just the technology of it had all of these great benefits that I just suggested, especially the fact that there's no plutonium left over, which, as I say, Dr. Cochran's concern for that is very well. I disagree with him on global warming, but I totally agree with him on some of the points he raised that have to be concerns, like proliferation and the leftover waste material, as well as potential accidents. Were they lying to me when they said that there's no possibility of a meltdown or radioactive discharge as compared to light water reactors?
There is definitely a benefit with the high-temperature gas-cooled reactors because of the fuel type is ceramic in nature. It can withstand higher temperature, and there is less likely to melt. However, I would say as far as the technology looking to be deployed next, that is being designed as we speak. So it is not archaic technology, but rather we see it from an operational perspective as the optimum balance between the innovation, using the passive approach to technology, but at the same time, the wealth of experience that we do have on light water reactors. Because again, as we go through, while the financial issues have dominated a lot of the discussions, at the end of the day for us investing and operating, it's the safety aspect of it.
Well, the safety operation, you're trying to tell me that light water reactors are going to be in just a safety comparison to what this high-temperature gas-cooled reactor offers, that there's a better safety potential for the water reactor? With all of the leftover plutonium?
I think it's unknown at this point. Well, I don't think that the plutonium issue is as much of a differentiator.
What about the meltdown issue? What about the discharge of radioactivity issue? I mean, these Japanese scientists were very specific with me about this. They'd all worked on the light water reactors before and said there is just no comparison as to the actual safety of these two operations.
I would again argue that there is a potential and there are safety benefits associated with the high temperature gas reactors, but at the same time there are unknowns again in the area of fuel and also with the materials, which have implications obviously to the safety. But, so I think that the high-temperature gas reactors need to be on the horizon, but I think the bridging technology to get from where we are to that is to implement the next evolution, not revolution, of technology to sustain the infrastructure to allow us to implement the Gen 4 reactors.
The gentleman's time has expired, but yes, Admiral, looks like are you trying to get into this? Do you want to say something quickly?
Yes, sir. I just wanted to add, and we're certainly my laboratory believes that high-temperature gas reactor technology has a lot of potential. I don't think the Japanese engineers lied to you. I think they implied a degree of maturity in the technology that's not there yet. It holds a lot of promise. The issues, you got to finish developing the technology. You got to show that you can make this fuel and make it reliably in billions and billions of times. The other is the market for these machines, these reactors. Big light water reactors are very good at generating electricity, and they're very inexpensive in the U.S. context. These reactors, the high-temperature gas reactors, are really focused at a different market, which is the high-temperature process heat applications, including how you make hydrogen. In point of fact, a market that doesn't exist yet. So, we are committed, and the Department of Energy is committed to developing that technology and resolving those issues, and this is what we call reactor after next technology. It's not as mature, I guess.
Thank you. We'll have a second round, and Mr. Rohrabacher, for your information, Mr. Bilbrey had asked unanimous consent that your self-definition be concurred, but I would not consent to that. So.